Hello, I'm Pete Wedderburn, Pete the Vet, and I've just finished doing my weekly vet spot on Newstalk's Pat Kenny show. So now we're going to take 10 or 15 minutes during this Facebook Live session to answer some of the questions we didn't get to when we were on air. And as well as that, I'm going to answer any more questions you have about your pets. So if you just type your questions into the comments section, and I'll get to those in due course. So first of all, was there one that we were asked?
Yeah. So the first question that comes in is, how long is gestation in cats? I found a cat in a field and I'm quite worried.
So how long is gestation period or pregnancy in cats? Well, it's the same as it is in dogs, and what the number that's normally said is 64 days, which is 9 weeks and a day, actually. That's generally it. Now, normally, it's not obvious that they're pregnant till about 30 to 40 days afterwards. And actually, it's just about impossible to detect until they're about 3.5 weeks pregnant. That's about 24 days. If you take the cat to a vet and the vet feels the abdomen, they can usually tell by around 24 days. About 30 days, you can do an ultrasound examination to find out if they're pregnant. About 45 days, you can do an X-ray. So that's really it. Like I say, it's the same as dogs.
So a question has come in. So, hi Pete, what's the best dog breed to recommend for a young family getting their first pet?
Well, I always try and stay away from recommending a specific breed because for me it's more about the individual more than the actual breed as such. So I'd be saying to you, go to a good rescue centre, a centre which takes in all sorts of different dogs, and talk to them about your situation. Go along with your children, let the children and yourself meet all the dogs, and usually what happens is you'll find a dog that seems to match what your needs and wants are. And the people who run the rescue centre, they're very, very good at matching dogs to people. They don't want to have a failure. They don't want to have a dog that go to a home that doesn't suit the dog. So their aim is to find a match. So if you listen to them, they'll guide you. And that's usually the best way. If you want to get into specific breeds, well, yes, there's all sorts of breeds that could be suitable, but it's very hard to say because there are, like Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, for example, are often the most lovely, gentle dogs, but you do get mad live wire versions, okay? Equally, boxers. Some people are totally dedicated to boxers. They think they're the best breeds in sliced bread, and some of them are lovely, soft, gentle dogs. Other ones are totally hyper, who are quite difficult. So it's down to the individual dog, and because there's an issue with unwanted dogs in Ireland still, there's too many unwanted dogs. Something like 1,000 dogs are killed every year just because they're not wanted. So that's why it's a good idea to go to a rescue centre. If you want to know a good rescue centre near to you, go to a website that's called Rescue Animals Ireland, and they list animals that are available in rescue centres around the country, so you should be able to find one that's close to you. Okay?
Great. So this is from Rona. So I'm thinking of getting a Ragdoll kitten and I have a young family. Any thoughts?
It's expensive, first thought. All pedigree animals, whether dogs or cats, are expensive. So you're probably going to be spending 500 to 1,000 euros on a kitten. And, that's your choice. If you do choose to do that, then I'd say to you, go to a good breeder. Go to a breeder who knows a lot about the Ragdoll breed, who's investigated the illnesses that are hereditary within the breed, and all pedigree animals are more prone to certain illnesses than crossbred animals, so you have to take that on board. So make sure they've done the right pre-breeding screening health tests, and that includes blood tests as well as things like ultrasound to check their heart, and sometimes having their eyes checked as well. What you want to do also is to meet both parents, meet the mother and father cat. You want to make sure they're lovely, healthy, gentle cats. Once you've done all those checks, then yes, I have to admit that Ragdolls can be the most adorable kittens. And I speak as somebody who owns a Maine Coon kitten, so don't get me wrong. There's a lot to be said about getting a pedigree animal. You buy a particular type of animal, whereas if you get a crossbred kitten, it's a bit less predictable. You're not quite so sure how they're going to turn out. So there are benefits in pedigree cats, but you have to be prepared for the costs. You also have to be prepared to make absolutely sure that the breeder has done all the appropriate tests. As long as those things are okay with you, then fine, go ahead.
Okay, so this is quite a long one from Karen. So we already have a 5-year-old JTR, I'm not 100% what that is, toilet trained, looking for another female 6-month-old JRT.
Jack Russell Terrier.
Okay, Jack Russell Terrier. So Let me just start this again because it's quite a long one. So we already have a 5-year-old Jack Russell Terrier, and he's toilet trained, but they've taken in another female 6-month-old and another rescue dog 2 weeks ago, and she refuses to toilet train. So she won't use the puppy pads, or when you bring her outside, she just sits down. Do you have any advice on this? I work so it's difficult to train during the day.
But that is difficult. I suppose the first line I'd have for all dogs that are difficult to house train is to consider using an indoor kennel, also known as a crate. It's called crate training. So what happens is, like at the moment, the dog can presumably wander around your house wherever they want to go. So your dog may decide that that far corner of your kitchen, in the, away from the living area, that's a nice place to go for a pee and a poo because it's sheltered, it's cozy, and it's not kind of in the living space. And so as far as the dog's concerned, that's perfectly good. It's as good as going outside. It's better actually because it's not cold and windy and wet. So the dog likes going there. So if you just let the dog wander around as it pleases, then it's very likely to find someone like that it thinks is a cool place to pee and piddle and poo. So what you need to do is to use a crate. What that means is it's an indoor kennel, so it's about the size, sort of 3 foot by 3 foot by 4 foot. You put your dog's bed in there, put some food, water, some toys. Then that becomes the dog's, if you like, private bedroom. Now, dogs know naturally not to mess in their own den. So they kind of hold on naturally because they don't want to spoil the area where they're living. So what happens, you have her living in there, and whenever she's out of there, you're watching her really closely. Everything she does, you watch really closely. And dogs don't just suddenly go, psst, psst, they kind of go, I think I need to go soon. And they kind of walk in circles a little bit. They walk up and down. They get a bit restless. And finally, they go over to where they want to go and they do it. So there's always warning signs that they're about to go. So as soon as you see those warning signs, well, then you go outside with her. And you wait around, and eventually she'll start to pee and to poo, and that's when you give her loads and loads of praise and give her a treat of some kind. So if you do that consistently, then she will soon learn to do that, to do in the right place. But it does take a lot of effort from your point, and it is difficult if you're out at work all day. That's not easy. So those are the kind of issues you have to deal with. It's fine to put in a crate, but you can only really leave it there for an hour or 2 hours max. So I'm not quite sure how you're going to handle that with your working situation. You may have to draft in the help of some friends or neighbours in the short term.
Okay. The same lady also just wrote to say that she leaks when she gets excited. Is that normal?
Yes, that's called submissive urination, and it's typical in dogs that are a bit anxious, usually in young dogs. Most dogs get over it when they're 3 or 4 or 5 years of age, and it's difficult to stop that. I think the best you can do is to anticipate when she's likely to get excited and take her outside at those times, or at least take her on some newspaper area so she doesn't piddle on your best carpet. It's common though, and it's like I say, it's very difficult to actually cure that. Other than with time, dogs get more confident and less anxious, and they're less likely to do it then.
Okay, so my dog has a bad fish-like smell from his mouth. Is that an infection?
Well, it's not normal. Fish-like smell, well, I always say there's 3 places where smells come from a dog's mouth, okay? The first place everybody thinks of is the teeth. So check the teeth carefully. Lift up the lip and look at the teeth. If the teeth are the cause of this, you'll see a buildup of tartar and red gums, and if you put your nose to it, you'll smell the smell. So that's the most common situation, and that's sorted by going to the vet to have the teeth professionally descaled and polished. That will sort that one out. But you do need to follow up with good home dental care. That's another topic. Anyway, teeth are the first place. Second place is often the smell is the lip. Some breeds, especially like spaniels, are prone to having folds of skin around the lip. And in those folds, you get redness and soreness and a build-up of infection, and then you get a smell. So that's the second place. So you can examine that by just looking at the lip and sniffing the lip and seeing if there's smell there. The third place, if the teeth are clean and the lips are clean and smell-free, the third place is the stomach. And some dogs and some diets, they produce a gas. So when they, when they breathe or when they belch a little bit, out comes this fishy smell. So those are the 3 places, and you have to do a little bit of detective work to work out which one of those it is, and then you can sort it.
Okay, so this is the final question. So this is from Noreen. So my 5-year-old terrier Mix is a very nervous dog and is terrified of getting his nails cut. Can I clip them myself?
It's probably quite tricky if he's that nervous. I mean, like all of these things, the best answer is to be really, really patient and painstakingly slow in progressing this forwards. What that would involve is going to somewhere where, whether you're a vet or whether a groomer, and have them really take their time, not clipping the nails at all first day, just lifting his feet and putting them down again, lifting his feet and putting them down again, and giving them treats. And he'll gradually then get used to his feet being lifted but nothing being done. And you might do that every day for a couple of weeks. Then after you've done that, you can then just maybe clip 1 or 2 nails and then put them down again. And so you gradually build it up so he eventually gets used to this happening. And because he gets rewarded with treats and praise, he'll learn not to be frightened of it, because he'll learn there's nothing bad happening. If, on the other hand, you just pounce on him and grab him and force him to go through with having something done which he doesn't want done, he's naturally going to continue to be frightened of it. And that's not going to help at all. Now, often vets will shortcut this whole thing by giving dogs sedatives. So you give a sedative, 10, 15 minutes later the dog is sleeping peacefully, and it's really easy to do it then without stressing them. So that's kind of the shortcut people use. I think it's probably difficult for you to clip his nails if he's that anxious, but you can try that. But I wouldn't start by clipping his nails. I'd start by just literally picking up each foot in turn and examining the nail and examining each nail, and just seeing if he'll actually do that, and going on from there. It's surprisingly difficult sometimes, though. Problem is that you can't explain to dogs what you're doing, so as far as he's concerned, you're just assaulting him by grabbing and squeezing his toes, It's difficult enough. Listen, thanks a lot, everybody. I'll talk to you all next week. Thank you.